Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tracked Before. This time, Where Silence Has Lease. Yeah, it's not the greatest title. It's weird. You know what's not weird? Patreon.com/IBD. That's easy. That's a place where you go support us, help out the network, support us, and you get a little bit of something back. You get this special programming, like our Family Guy bonus episode, where we talk about the Family Guy episode, where Stewie and the entire crew, even Tasha Yar, yeah, remember her from TNG, show up. So yeah, it's worth it. Just like it's worth it to get your feedback and get our feedback. Where Silence Has Lease on It's All Been Tracked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tracked Before. Your regular crew is here.
This is Steven.
Young Keith.
And Jimmy-Jerome here from 105.2. I don't know. I thought that's what you were doing, Keith, but I can't do the voice.
No, that is exactly what I was going for.
Okay, good.
It's the morning show, right? Yeah.
So we are here to talk about Season 2, Episode 2, Where Silence Has Lease. First impressions.
As I alluded last episode, I think that I tend to enjoy these kinds of things more than Steven does. And yet this was a little, I mean, it ended up being a little tedious when I realized the formula of what they were doing. It was interesting in certain ways, but, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just say that as things were unfolding at the beginning, I actually liked it quite a lot. But that has nothing to do with the way it actually ends. So we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, not a fan.
I liked it quite a bit, honestly. I mean, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of why and all that stuff here, but I was surprised to see this was rated lower than the child. Much higher than the child. I liked the child a lot, but on IMDb, the rating for this one's higher. But yeah, I liked this. I thought it was a good second episode. I thought it continued some things. It added some new elements to the season. Thought it was an interesting story. And not without its problems, but yeah, I liked it.
The first thing that I've noted, I don't know if you have something before this, but the action scene with Worf and Riker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, before that, I had just Picard's on the bridge worried about it. And I'm like, oh, are they on some dangerous mission? No, they're in the holodeck, so why is he worried?
Because they wanted you to think that. They wanted you to go, oh, wow, and then, reveal.
Did they ever explain why he was worried?
No.
Okay.
It was purely for the sake of faking out.
Yeah.
I will say I remember very, very vividly that sequence and the wet skull-faced guy. And I don't know. This must have been one of the episodes I got on VHS and watched over and over again.
I thought it was a very original series kind of fight scene.
Oh, super!
Yes. That was
the music.
Yeah,
that was my first note about the music, which I liked actually.
I thought it was very gorny, is what I put.
Yes, I thought the first Alien.
Not as good, but still, I was interested.
Is Worf wearing Natasha Yar's glove from the Code of Honor episode?
Huh. That would be very interesting. I don't know. I guess I tuned it out and sort of thought it was like, oh, this must be Klingon garb of some sort.
It looked like the glove that she had to wear in her combat. I could be wrong. That's just what it looked like.
And then it makes you wonder.
I didn't say who.
I held back. Do you think he possibly programmed it that way, or did we just chalk it up to they had the props sitting around, so they threw it in there?
They had the props sitting around.
Yeah.
You want to say he programmed it as a tribute to Tasha?
Right. Or he remembered seeing the fight. I was like, that's pretty cool. I want one of ththose.
I doubt it very much, but you never know. I mean, you could justify it any way you want.
So their uniforms get damaged in the holodeck?
Sure.
Because they're sweaty and dirty, so that stays with them when they leave?
Yes.
So people could go through a lot of uniforms in the holodeck.
Yeah, but they got replicators. They just make new ones.
That's true. They got all that algae.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now I'm sure by the next gen times, it's now artificial algae. They don't harvest the real algae anymore.
That's right.
More sustainable. What do you think of Feral Worf, though? I thought that was a little odd.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to Picard's comment at the beginning, trying to set up this character development for Worf. Like, oh boy, well, for people tuning in, here's what Klingons are like. They're these animalistic, or they're or he's got to struggle against his animal nature.
Yeah. Anytime you make a species so simplistic like that, I kind of tune out and forget about it when we do the rest of the Klingon character development.
Right.
Yeah. It definitely goes back to, like you were saying, Keith, it definitely goes back to that. This is a time where people weren't like, I'm watching all 10 episodes today or whatever, 20 some.
No.
But like, somebody might just be dropping in just in case. By the way, this is a Klingon. This is how it works.
Well, and they definitely knew that it was going to be watched in reruns because the original series was watched in reruns.
That's true. That's true.
But you're right. They couldn't imagine Netflix or even DVDs at this point.
Well, and they were hoping to pick up more people than just me, the Trekkers out there.
Right. And they did. This was a very, very popular show.
They certainly did.
It got better ratings than the original series, for sure.
So for the holodeck, this goes to the thing I was talking about last week about the technology. And they explain enough every now and then for me to go, okay, yeah, I can imagine you might do this. You might use some treadmills or something, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But when
treadmills and tractor beams.
Really?
Yes, and transporter technology and replicator technology.
I wondered about that.
It's all part of the holodeck.
So it's trying to get my head around the idea of, let's say, they show us like a glimpse of how small that room is compared to some of the settings they usually have.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard to imagine some of the plots that are going to be coming up later. Even really just that first Dixon Hill thing is hard to imagine when you have different human characters in the holodeck at the same time in different locations within that world. Supposedly like maybe across town or something. Mm-hmm. It's hard to just picture them being trapped in different corners or they could just be like, I don't know, a couple feet away from each other, theoretically. No, that wouldn't work because some of those rooms, I don't know. It seems like some of the rooms that they have are almost the size of the holodeck itself.
Optical illusions.
Maybe.
I'm just being...
No, I know. That's good. That's the kind of thing that I was trying to consider too. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly... optical illusion seems the most likely explanation. To me, if we're going to really explain technology here. But yeah, it is a weakness that the holodeck is not super consistent with how it's handled. Even though I like having the holodeck, and I'd rather have the inconsistent holodeck than no holodeck.
And certainly it's nice to have a holodeck as opposed to trying to somehow invent a planet that's the Wild Wild West or Nazis or something.
Yes. Yeah, the original series.
For when they want to, give you one of those Gunsmoke scripts or something.
Or when they want to just keep the budget low and use existing sets and costumes.
That too.
That's where my mind goes more than the writer really wanted them to go to the Wild West.
Well, I mean, it feels like it was a combination of both, or I don't remember if it was you or Steven who would bring that up usually, but when you frame it and the sense of this weird lawyer script, they need to throw this away for an episode Gunsmoke at some point, or this writer is shopping this around.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
anyway.
I do want to know, Worf mentions that this is less intense than his normal workouts. What the heck are his normal workouts? Are you curious at all?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that later in the series they kind of get into that, or they are less vague. This felt like the way that I don't want to say like a young kid or something, but just the way that certain people write stories in a way that kind of gives you that more well than you can imagine, that kind of a line.
Yeah.
So
that they don't have to think it up themselves.
Yeah, it's supposed to set up the badassery of the whole thing with Picard going, "Oh God, I hope they're okay," and "Stand down, Lieutenant," and that whole thing is again, "Oh, I'm such an animal." So
I definitely didn't buy Riker telling him to stand down. I felt like there was no way Worf would have gotten to that point. He's better than that.
Yeah.
That felt really awkward to me.
Yeah.
So then let's move out of the holodeck.
Okay. If you can find the exit.
I don't remember what this was in reference to. I think it was something to do with the hole in space. Data saying, "I do not know what it is." And then Wes says something. I wish I'd written more of this down. Wes says something totally obvious that you're like, well, out of the mouth of babes.
I saw it today, so I know what you're talking about. It's Data mentions that, Picard's asking some very specific questions about the nature of what it is or what should be there and et cetera. And Wesley points out, if it were simply a hole in space, shouldn't we be able to see something through it?
Ah, yes. And you're like, oh, yeah, duh. That felt a little clunky. Then right after that, we've got Worf asking for the yellow alert. And in season 1, we saw Worf as being more cautious than this. This feral jump to yellow alert Worf is not the Worf we've met in the first season. It's a new Worf, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to. Well, I think we might have already established that the writing might be a little inconsistent in this episode for his character, but still, you could argue that this represents him getting a little bit of power. Maybe his tactical opinions are supposed to represent that sort of thing. My problem with that was the way that they teased that he was going to be taken seriously about this Klingon legend, or maybe you're going to hear a little bit more about the story. I just kind of dropped it, and then he wasn't right. So I don't know.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. And then do they really have to get so close to the hole? I mean, Picard's like, okay, let's hang back. And then Wesley's like, I can get us closer. He's like, okay, go ahead. And it's like, that's just bad television writing, right?
I suppose. See, I think we're finding out why this is related. No, wait. This was rated higher than the first episode?
Yes.
Oh.
And I came away really liking this episode. And so far, I know we're not that far into it, but so far I'm like, why did I like this episode? What? These notes are good.
I think part of it is, now that we're to the whatever this thing is that isn't a thing that is, I wrote down, is this Star Trek the Motion Picture again? Because it's a giant cloud kind of thing, and they go inside it, which I actually like the effect once again inside. But
yeah, the effect was great.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see in this episode majorly like how far they've come since the original series days on technology and special effects.
Well, I think one of the reasons why I enjoyed it, because I'm seeing that I have about the same number of notes for this episode that I had for the last one, but they all lead up to maybe the first episode, and I just stop.
You saved your notes for a whole week, even though we already talked about the episode? That's crazy, Keith.
Oh, I kept them on the same page.
Oh, okay.
There's what I started. I guess what I noticed or noted the most was the investigative aspect of the episode, which I really enjoyed.
Me too.
They were really being methodical and talking out exactly why they were doing what they were doing. It felt like something that real people would actually do in that situation, apart from getting that close to begin with.
So you're reminding me why I like it. It's that spirit of adventure and discovery.
Yeah.
And the way they handle it, which is very classic Starfleet.
And even when they get to the point where Picard says, "Okay, I think we've done enough. Let's let a science vessel do this."
Yeah.
When they started getting into the minutia of what is and why, and they're like, you know what, I think we can probably spend our time a little better than this, and let's real experts handle this kind of thing and get out of here.
Are you talking about the stoner talk section where they're like, could this be another dimension? Or lack thereof. And I was just like, is everyone just stoned on this ship right now? I mean, what if it's a new dimension? Well, what if it's not even? It's just a lack of dimension.
I think that's what Data said. And that was about the time when you could see that Pulaski and Data were about to get into this conversation. He was like, you know what? I think we're done for today. Let's just kind of move on.
I actually liked that part of the episode. So
I noted it in the first episode, but in this episode, Pulaski's super racist. She's super far down the McCoy track.
Mm.
The Riker-Picard scene there, where they're talking about history, and it brings in, what you mentioned, Keith, with Worf's legend and everything. I kind of dug that because we get Picards like that he wants to talk history and mythology and stuff, but I feel like we don't always see that from Riker. And it's nice to be reminded that Riker is choosing to be here for a reason, with this captain for a reason. He is learning from him. He does have interests beyond I'm going to swing my leg over the chair and be brash, we really see him as a fully formed individual and officer there.
Excuse me. I noted that he did do a Captain Morgan thing where he put his leg up again while he was talking to somebody right by him. But I also noted that my third note was there was an elegant kind of sharing of command on the bridge that I don't think I'd seen before. There was something really comfortable with the way that Picard and Riker would sort of kind of fluidly switch off between delegating command of what was going on.
We got that a couple times in season 1, and I found it odd when it did happen, like Riker ordering shields up in front of, like, behind Picard without Picard paying attention. And now, but you're right, in this episode it didn't stick out. It started to feel natural in a way that it didn't when those things happened in season 1.
Yeah. Also, I thought that the Worf thing was a good it seemed like a good opportunity to show some of Picard's character, apart from, of course, that they're probably doing this whole, again, Klingons are wild and tribal and they have these superstitious beliefs, but also Picard very patiently drawing that out of him.
Well,
in the sense of, my officer's input is still valuable.
And Worf wasn't raised by Klingons, which makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Just still, again, speaks to some of the inconsistency, I would imagine, too.
Yeah, the fact that you get. I mean, I could see where somebody that wasn't raised by Klingons may overcompensate of embracing the Klingon culture once they get access to it.
Perhaps.
But I also think it's established that his parents really tried to give him that Klingon culture, even though they weren't part of it.
Okay.
So, kind of like, if you've got parents that adopt a baby of another race, but try to get them in touch with their cultural roots and really make certain they know. That kind of thing. I'm
already up to my last note.
Oh, really? I'm not even halfway through mine yet.
They did a really great shot, I thought, visually and emotionally for me, when they're starting to figure out how badly things are starting to go. And they cut to this shot of Picard sitting in the chair past just Riker's hand, sort of kind of tapping his leg nervously, and then just sort of starting to close into a fist as they're starting to realize the severity of what is happening. Mm-hmm. And Picard sort of reacting almost the same way, the same speed, but you see the full body, and it's just, I don't know, I like the way that looked.
So it was about this part of the episode where they called engineering to check in with Geordi, and it was just a very, very quick check-in. And it was almost, at that point, Geordi hadn't been in the episode. And I was like, did LeVar Burton just need to collect a paycheck this episode?
Doesn't everybody?
And also, we had to check in with Geordi about where's Troy. She doesn't show up till 3/4 of the way through this episode. So it felt a little weird to do that. And then I wrote, like, 2 lines later, oh, there he is, because he shows up on the bridge, which feels really weird. Like, why are you showing up on the bridge? Why aren't you down in engineering? Getting ready for whatever this is.
He wanted to be like Scotty, who he read about in his ancient history course at Starfleet.
Well, he'll eventually get to meet Scotty. We're just not there yet.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt really weird to me. I did like he could transfer his engineering console to the bridge, so I guess that made it a little more justifiable that he's up there. And I thought it was interesting that console stays dark a lot. Like when Riker and Worf go over to the other ship, that console, I noticed the engineering area is dark even when other consoles are lit up. So it's like, oh yeah, that is like Geordi's reserved station whenever they need him. But then I also feel like he even only has a reserve station so that we can have him on the bridge every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Which I'm going to get a little ahead of myself and saying my alternate episode is just Geordi feeling left out because he served on the bridge the whole first season, and now he's been banished to engineering. And yeah, he's got all this extra responsibility and stuff and a higher rank. But, I feel like he would feel left out from the bridge crew, not getting to hang out with them all the time anymore.
I was about to say that I love things like that. I never really thought about that, the way the consoles were working. And it certainly wouldn't have occurred to me back then, but now, I mean, the idea of if you have everything set as like tablet screens or touch screens of some sort, you could just have them as blank slates and just load the app wherever you are on the ship.
And I think they're doing that. They're doing that with like Discovery and stuff. They're making those choices, but in the '80s they didn't have that forethought.
Well, I mean, it feels like they kind of did then if he was able to do that. Because the mechanics of that. Well,
yeah, but I think what I was picking up on is that console's just left empty for him when he needs it. So it's not modular. It's just there for him all the time, whether he's on it or not.
Interesting.
Well, and Scotty used to always seem to have contact with engineering from the bridge as well when he wasn't captaining, whatever. So I wonder if it's like I don't know, it's like a laptop you take with you, or like a if you're in engineering, like you say, you're in the heart of it and you know what's going on. Your people are there. You're not just guessing, or a lot of guessing. So maybe it's just a limited range of options you can look at from the bridge, and you can look and be like, oh, everything's working well, or everything's not working well. But if you want to get into the nitty gritty, you got to obviously go down to engineering.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Go through the paper thin security to get in there.
And my next note is something that I would have mentioned earlier, but I just didn't notice it until this point. But did you guys notice just how quiet it was on the bridge through that whole first half of the episode?
How do you mean?
Like there were the little beeps and boops from stations, just very quiet and underlying, but it just felt like such a silent place on that bridge. When somebody talked, it almost interrupted the silence. It was just very quiet and calming.
But didn't catch it.
That it was just more of a mood than anything, honestly.
Maybe it was supposed to convey that mood of being in a void, but
I mean, sometimes they make the bridge look really busy with like everybody running around, and you hear people moving around and hitting a lot of buttons, and that wasn't there this time. It was just quiet and meditative. I don't know.
So, I mean, or do you think it's a purposeful choice, or just something an oversight?
Oh no, I definitely think it was a purposeful choice. I think it was to set the tone of wonder and awe and just how unusual the situation was.
Yeah, I agree that up to this point now things were ruddy, mysterious. They're doing a good job of getting that across. So, yeah, we should get to the actual cause of it. I would say, right?
Oh, so they're in the hole now, and the Romulan warbird appears. Like they just wanted to reuse that Romulan warbird. And they destroy it really quickly, but that was such an intense and dangerous scene. It felt very dangerous.
Yeah.
They were confronting it. So again, we had like a real mood and tone in a way that was very noticeable. The only thing that I thought kind of spoiled it was after they blew it up, Geordi at the back of the bridge was like, yes! And I'm like, dude, you're not bloodthirsty. What's going on?
Right. I would think the reaction should immediately be exactly what Picard's reaction was. Like, that's not right. Come on.
Yes. He's an engineer. He should know better than anybody.
Well, and I thought the reaction would have been, oh, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And this is too easy.
Yeah. And they don't want to kill people just to kill people, you know?
Right.
Well, yeah,
that's the last. That too. That's the last resort for them. So it felt very odd to see Geordi celebrate, and Geordi of all people, who doesn't seem very warlike, celebrating it. Then the Yamato appears, another Galaxy class vessel, so they could just reuse special effects. And Picard's like, where's the Yamato right now? And Wesley's like, oh, it's nowhere near here. And I'm like, how does he know where the Yamato is off the top of his head that he can just like fire right back? That seemed off and weird.
Maybe it's on his feed.
Has he got like a girlfriend, or not girlfriend because it's Wesley? Does he have a pen pal over there that he's crushing on, that he just like stalks her and keeps track of where her ship is at all times?
Well, I mean, there's got to be lots of crew people on that ship who have like an Instagram feed.
I was gonna say,
they're talking about where they are. And
hey, we're on sister ships, so maybe we could be, could talk all the time. So where are you guys? We're nowhere near you. So please.
Which is all the more reason to think they're actually right around the corner.
We're nowhere near you, thank God. Hey, yeah, they're nowhere near us.
Oh.
I actually thought that was going to be the Enterprise, looking at the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Me too.
You get more into the stoner, like, oh man, it's like we're looking at ourselves.
Yeah.
They got to do a little bit of that, and when they beamed over there too, which okay. My only complaint there, and I get that I'm sure there's some time and budgetary concerns and so on, but just the idea of trusting that thing was out, I would have been more suspicious by then.
Yeah, I would not have beamed over. I thought that was super weird. I just wrote down, does beaming over really seem like a good idea?
Well, I mean, shouldn't they have like a space suit on or something?
Right. I thought it was, because I thought of Tholian Web where they beam over there, and it's like, they should have they should have more than that, right? If they're beaming over to something that may or may not be there, it doesn't make sense.
It's like, why wouldn't, I mean, that thing could have just disappeared at any second.
Right. I did like Riker pointing at Worf, like, I still love Riker's pointing to get his point. Anytime he's selecting people, I love it whenever he points at somebody. I'm like, yeah, I love it. He doesn't say anything. Point. And they get it. I love it.
He doesn't have to say anything.
He did say Worf with me, though.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Worf with me.
Yeah. I still like the point.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we got to see O'Brien again. Yay! I always get excited to see O'Brien. Mostly,
thank God he was there so he could get him back when the
right. If it was Yar, she probably would have lost him.
Well, who?
Wherever they were, even that.
Right.
I really love the idea of where they're going with that. I mean, just the concept of the mind bending. Like, if this entity, we're going to eventually find out, could just do that. Where were they exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And didn't they say, well, we may not be anywhere. We may not have even left the ship.
Yep.
And I did like, though, as much as spoiler alert, didn't care for this episode, I did like when they're on there and they're kind of looking at themselves, kind of looking into a mirror that's facing a mirror.
Love that stuff.
I thought that was
cool.
I thought that looked really cool.
It's at this point in the episode where Wesley just inexplicably disappears off the bridge. Did you notice that?
I did not.
So Wesley is at that station up front because they talk to him about, like, he drives the ship right up to the edge of the hole and everything. Then he's gone. And they bring, next scene is when soon after that is when we get the confrontation. I am skipping ahead. We'll go back in a minute.
Sure.
But they get that confrontation where they kill the officer who took Wesley's place at his station. And then as soon as he dies, Wesley's back at that station. It's almost like,
man.
Did Wesley know that guy was going to die? He's like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom right now. Somebody else take it for a minute.
It could have really have just been a bathroom break, I was about to say.
It was so convenient, though, that Wesley was gone for just the part of the episode where somebody died at that station.
I'll tell you where Wesley was. You said you were nowhere near us. You're right in front of us. What gives?
Yeah, he went to make a personal call.
Wow.
Oh, no, that's great. This is also the part of the episode where I wrote, I agree with Pulaski, this feels like an experiment. And as much as I remember the opening scene of this episode with that workout vividly, I don't remember watching the rest of the episode. So I don't know if I just watched that opening scene or what.
Yeah, doesn't she say, or someone says it's like some kind of laboratory?
Pulaski does.
Yeah, that's when I wrote in giant letters, SIGH. Of course it's a test! It's a superior being testing you! Of course it's a lab!
But that face coming out was a really cool effect.
Yeah.
I did like the face, actually.
And then the screaming con man, the guy that took Wesley's place, his death was just so ridiculous. And I wanted Pulaski to say, he's dead, Jean. Instead he says, he's gone. But he
gone.
I certainly thought that too.
Is the Navigator still dead at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
do you approve of that? Or?
No, I don't. Why wouldn't he just be like, all right, I'll bring him back to life? I don't understand these godlike creatures.
So it was also at this point where Geordi says, when the godlike thing appears, that's a damn ugly thing. And then he's sassy to Data. Again, Geordi, like the totally out of character lines and moments in this episode. Spoiler alert, I think you could tell who I'm going to find annoying this week. But yeah, he's just ridiculous. And then you're right. Then the alien says, well, I'm going to kill like a third or half the crew because I want to see death in every way, and so I'm going to kill all these people. And before they go to commercial, you've got like a good several beats, and nobody says anything. Like Picard's not going to say don't or no. It's just like, oh, you're going to kill the crew?
Do what now?
But he doesn't even say that. He's just like, oh, nothing.
Excuse me, Mr. Hava Nagila, did you say kill 500?
Well, then Worf immediately is like, well, those are acceptable limits. Also out of character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought it was a good. I mean, if you think of it like if this had been some sort of armed conflict, I don't know. It made some sense to me at the time as far as the internal logic of it. But yeah, it was also like another skin of evil, and I think they realize that. That's what I was starting to say. It's just they have to know that. What are they going to do about it? They have to think of it in those terms.
Yeah, but let's have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just standing there, staring. And then Pulaski actually had a couple good lines here, and she's like, "It's like curing the disease by killing the patient." And then she goes, "Oh, I guess it was the wrong time to join the ship." I did like that.
I love that line.
I love that line. Shows the reason I like her. I like, and that is a very McCoy line too.
So then Picard, after like not saying anything or fighting back at all, is like, "Okay, Riker, let's go self-destruct the ship." And for a minute, I thought they were just reusing the footage from 1001, 1100, with just a different ending because it felt. I mean, engineering was cleared out. It was just the two of them again, and it felt like the same thing.
My note was blow up Enterprise again. But then they got in that conversation about the timing of it or whatever.
That was great where Picard's like, "How long do you think we should do it?" Riker's like, "I don't know, 20 minutes? Okay, 20 minutes."
That was great.
Insane.
There was just that banter. You kind of felt like there was a shorthand happening there. It almost felt like, okay, is this a bit? Are they both agreeing that this is a bit? Or
I felt like at that
like it's resigned.
No, I felt like at that point, like there wasn't a need for a big discussion. It was Picard truly saying, "I don't know how long," and Riker's, as first officer, should always have an answer for his captain, so he just picks an arbitrary time, and Picard's like, "Oh, better, as good as any other time." You know what I mean? It was very natural to me.
Yes,
that was the only part that saved blowing up the Enterprise again for me was that conversation. I was like, okay, that's new.
Yes.
But then we go to, and then he sets the ship to self-destruct, and then while everybody else stays at their stations on the bridge, Picard's like, "Oh, I'm just going to go hang out in my quarters and wait for fake Troy and fake Data to show up and be pod people and have a calm, rational discussion about death with me." It felt really, it felt contrived to get him alone so they could have that discussion. Yeah. It didn't feel like he would have gone to his quarters in that 20 minutes.
It didn't occur to me until you brought it up, although I could hear the word contrived coming. I guess at the time I didn't really think about it that way.
Yeah, I thought, in my mind, everyone was like, you got 20 minutes to get your things in order with your maker or whatever.
Yep.
I recognized, but I didn't recognize Picard's dying music. Do you guys know what he was listening to?
Same here. I heard it. I knew I'd heard it before, but I couldn't place what it was.
It's a popular piece of music, but I couldn't figure it out.
He listens to a lot of opera. Maybe it was opera. I don't know. I don't even remember right now hearing it. So, yeah, that was odd. And then, so he goes back to the bridge, and I do get like why he thinks they might still be an illusion, and you don't want to cancel the self-destruct too early because there is a bluff that you might want to call there, because if you cancel it too early and then they immediately put you back in and then you're just going in circles, and that would be annoying. But also it's everybody's life. You might not want to wait till the very last second to cancel it on just a whim. Like, it's not like so devil's advocate, let's say he was bluffing and he was just going to put him right back in the hole. What do you lose, really, by canceling it a minute early instead of 5 seconds early? Because you could just start it again.
Yeah.
I think once the bluff is called, it's called. I mean, he can't really go back to the same tactic unless he really plans on following through with it.
Well, that's what I mean. I think he was prepared. I mean, he was prepared to follow through with it anyway.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he would then blow the chance for it to possibly save their lives too, though. So
I don't know. I just felt like he waited way too long. But I did enjoy Riker's line when they canceled it, and I swear I've got a Star Trek quote book around here that I read cover to cover just because I enjoy reading the quotes. And that was a quote that always stood out to me where they're like, "Commander Riker, do you agree with canceling the self-destruct?" "Yes, wholeheartedly, completely, yes." Like,
oh, yeah.
And then Picard's like, "A simple yes would have sufficed." So you're like, no, it wouldn't have.
I loved it. I was like, wait, just say yeah. Why are you still talking?
See, the thing about that, he said he didn't want there to be any chance of misinterpretation, but that's like the opposite of what you would want to do. You would like for a computer, yes. That is it.
Well, these are different computers. Yeah. And then we got, of course, Picard goes to his office and Nagila's right there. And, yep, I learned everything. You humans are too aggressive, too militaristic, too hostile. And Picard's like, "Yeah, but we're both curious." And he's like, "You're right. Okay. Mine totally changed by this primitive life form that points out something." It just, that part felt weird. Jesus, Keith, I was on board with liking this episode. The more we talk about it, it's got a lot of issues.
So
maybe Stephen was right.
I'm falling more into Steven's camp as we go.
So that piece of music, I did find this, is the Gymno. I'm probably not saying this right because it's French. Gymnopédies, or Troy Gymnopédies, written by Eric Satie, the French composer and pianist. And one of the first Google entries says that it's the most flat out relaxing piece of music there is. So
what was the name of the composer?
Eric Satie, Sitie. He wrote them in the late 19th century. So I'm sure we've heard it other places.
Guest star wise, we had Earl Bowen voiced Nagilum. He's best known as Dr. Silberman in the Terminator films. He was also in Naked Gun 33 and a Third. He's a big character actor. He's got 275 credits.
Great. Yeah, I didn't know that was him. I thought the face was interesting, like I said earlier, and I thought his delivery and cadence sounded like, and this is our Seinfeld reference for the episode, Crazy Joe Davola from Seinfeld. I thought so, and he looked and sounded like him. But this is before Crazy Joe Davola. Well, wait, no, yeah, because we're Seinfeld is just starting right now.
Earl guest starred in Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, he did.
He was the eulologist in the Pony Remark.
Yes. Yeah.
So, direct line to Seinfeld there. And then we end with Riker telling Wesley to steer clear of any holes, which to me was just a continuation of the talk at the end of the first episode of the season where Riker was supposed to upraise him, and that was his sex talk. Steer clear of any holes.
Oh, my God.
Fashion?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
I have a bunch of random notes, but I can get into those shortly.
Yeah, I didn't have anything for fashion either, but I don't think we've ever done an episode without fashion. But was there anything other than uniforms in this episode? I mean, the Nagilum didn't wear anything.
Yeah. We didn't have any, off-duty people walking around or anything, really.
I guess Worf's glove was our fashion.
Yeah.
We talked about at the beginning.
The aliens, their get-up, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
aliens. I said, that wet skull is stuck in my mind forever.
I thought it was an interesting touch. That's for sure.
It was very creepy.
Yeah.
And it creeped me out as a kid, and I still watch. Maybe that's why I never made any further in this episode.
I'm going way back, but they mentioned the ancient history course at Starfleet.
Uh-huh.
And they mentioned the Earth-based part of it, of course.
Sure.
But, and maybe I've just lost sight of this, but in my mind, I always saw Starfleet as like someplace you went, like postgraduate work, as opposed to West Point or like the U.S. Naval Academy.
Oh, yeah, I always saw it as like a college level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I guess I should have, but in my mind, I always thought of it as graduate level.
Huh.
But
I thought officer training was the graduate level stuff, if you went onto that.
Well, I guess ancient history makes sense. I just wish, as always, they had referenced the ancient history of some other planet.
I'm just glad they're still giving a liberal arts education.
That's a very good point. I mean, I did love ancient history. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So when it's soon after they get into the void, I think, or the void, whatever we're calling it.
Nagila.
Riker gets up right in front of Picard, and you can see in the shot, it's like Picard can't see around him.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I just thought it was weird. And maybe you guys referenced this earlier. You were talking about the fist thing, but
yeah, that was the shot that I liked. I mean, for effect, but
both Riker and the navigator, the dead navigator, do a finger tapping thing. And I thought that was
Haskell was the dead navigator. Yeah. Charles Douglas.
They both do a finger tapping thing that the camera kind of focuses on, but then we don't know what that is. It's never tied into anything. I thought that was weird.
Charles Douglas, by the way, only has 11 credits, and this is the role he's best known for.
Probably for that
Scream, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
He did do an episode of Knots Landing.
Oh.
As a fan.
I wrote this quote, "This game is wearing very thin," which was my alternate title for the episode.
You have a full alternate episode?
I do. It is just Worf and Riker just slaughtering tons of aliens. It's just like a bloodbath. They just kill and kill and kill until they're just covered in blood.
That does not sound like something I want to see.
So I've been using this time to look up the pronunciation just to make sure. I believe it's trois gymnopédies.
Ah, ho, ho, ho.
I took a lot of French though. Actually, the book I'm working two of the books I've had to do now required me to remember how to pronounce French or look it up, and I was like, "Oh man!" So it comes in handy sometimes.
What other notes you guys got?
I have two more notes. One is they mentioned the masculine and the feminine in this episode, and of course, as we know, it's binary. It's universal.
Sure.
I liked that actually. There was some explanation required. There was a foreign concept of some sort that the being didn't just assume. So,
my last one, I don't know what it is. It's what is death answer? I don't know what I was referencing there. It was near the end. But.
Oh, it had to be part of that conversation, but I can't remember.
What was the question?
What is death's answer? I felt like his response to them before he signed off was because I went back and watched it 2 more times, and I'm still like, I'm not satisfied with this answer.
I guess I didn't catch that. What is death's answer?
Yeah, I think it was like, I think it was his answer to, why are you doing this? And I felt like he never really said.
I thought he was just trying to learn, about humanity and stuff.
Which, last episode, loved it. This episode is this crap I do not like. But you guys don't. And our listeners do too. But
that is 2 episodes in a row. They had a superior being trying to learn about humanity.
I will say that, very different approaches. That's kind of an understatement. For as far as a godlike being killing things, this is, I guess, a different approach than say the skin of evil tar thing.
Sure.
In the sense that this one, it's like he wanted to understand the concept of finality, which I thought was interesting, at least. Mm-hmm. And his way of doing that was to, I guess, gauge the reactions and actually either try to observe the process that's happening. When he gave up, or it gave up on that, it was trying to discern what the experience was like through the reactions of the humans to try to process it that way.
I definitely got the impression he wasn't actually going to kill half the crew, that he was just testing what their reaction to it was.
I mean, he could have got that out of just killing the one guy, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Well, he wanted to experience death all of its different ways.
Or it could have been a threat.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think he wanted to experience what the threat of death did. I don't think he was really going to kill him. I could be wrong. Maybe that's just the optimistic part of me. But that's what I came away thinking.
I could go either way on that. I have no idea.
Couldn't he have done that with lab rats?
He could have.
They were the lab rats.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
What other notes you got?
This episode's going so low on my list for the season. At least number 2.
Do we get an alternate episode out of you, Steven?
Yeah, the Worf Riker slaughter.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I forgot already. I tried to block it out because I didn't want to picture it. It was too disturbing to me.
But it's a holodeck, so nobody's actually dead.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just going to take a pass on that one.
Understandable.
So we ready to get to our rankings?
Sure.
Okay, do we have a crush of the episode? Or are we all keeping Mrs. Gladstone?
I'm keeping Mrs. Gladstone.
I guess. I mean, I still don't know who she is, but
the teacher, the nursery teacher.
No, I know. I know who you mean, but I have no even image of what she looked like or how
short
she
red hair. Just Google Mrs. Gladstone TNG or Ms. Gladstone. I think she wasn't married. Nagila. I'm gonna pass on that one, so we'll keep Mrs. Gladstone. Ranking the episode, I feel like this is easy enough. It was definitely better than The Child, right?
Yep. Hated it. It's number 1.
It was the worst episode this season. I think we agree that IMDb is wrong and this ranks below The Child, but I still until we started really breaking it down, I liked this episode.
Yeah, that's
I'm kind of surprised as we talked about it how much I ended up not liking so many elements because I really came away thinking, oh, I like that one.
It's entertaining. There were entertaining portions of it. It's just that if you really I mean, you got to wonder when a lot of these ratings are from exactly. Are they being rated by people who watch them week one, 10 years out? Who knows?
Oh, probably all a variety of things.
Yeah.
And then the annoyance factor. On a scale of 1 to 10, how annoying was Wesley this week?
I'm giving him a 2.
A 2?
Yeah.
Why a 2 instead of a 1? Just curious.
I don't remember, but he did just enough to just at the minimum level of annoyance.
I'm going to give him a 2 as well because him leaving the bridge just to not get killed seemed really weird and dumb.
I'm at a 1. Good enough use for him. Although it did occur to me that the idea of Picard deciding to blow up the ship didn't seem to be bluffing and killing Beverly Crusher's son after, just seeming we don't know how much time has passed, right? Since they got permission for him to stay and just like, well, by the way.
That's a good point.
I don't know. But anyway, 1.
Okay, so he's a 1.7 this week as opposed to the 2 he was last week, he was a 3 last week.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I liked him better last week, but that's fine. Steven, who was your annoyance of the episode?
Hava Nagila, the testing creature, as I called him.
Keith?
Same. I mean, I think Geordie's a good choice as well, but just principally.
Why? What'd Geordie do?
You have the list.
I'm just teasing. Yes, obviously. I already blew mine. I'm definitely Geordie LaForge on this one. I don't know. I have no problem picking leads for the annoyance, and I don't pick any one lead too often. If we start to, then I'll learn something new about them. Next week, we will be watching Elementary Dear Data. Or is it Data? I'll have to ask Pulaski.
I saw that.
An attempt to provide Data with a challenging Sherlock Holmes holodeck RPG scenario backfires when its Professor Moriarty character accidentally becomes self-aware.
Accidentally. I can't wait. I'm going to have to make Marianne watch that one, of course. I don't know if you are aware of how enthusiastic she is about Sherlock Holmes. But
I am, and that's such an iconic episode of the Next Gen. Like Elementary Dear Data is one of the.
You're already doing it.
I know. Is one of those episodes that when you list Next Gen episodes, that's like near the top. We've got action figures specifically just from this episode, both the regular size and the 9-inch, because we got Geordie and Data as Holmes and Watson. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We'll get more into it next week, I'm sure. But what was the Dixon Hill episode last season? The big
goodbye.
Yeah. This holodeck thing needs to be re-examined.
With a magnifying glass.
That's safe.
So anyway, that's where we'll be next week. Definitely still on these remote recordings. Like I said, I hope they're not annoying, and I hope you get used to them, because we're doing, based on Ohio still locked down as we record this, for another 30 days. So that probably means another 8 episodes of these at least recorded this way.
That's, I'm kind of enjoying it. Simple enough.
Honestly, I prefer to be in the room with you guys. I feel like I'm more engaged in the room.
It's a lot more fun.
It is. It's a lot more fun to do it.
Watching and then talking. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
I miss that. I'm going to be glad when we get back to that. I don't want this to be our new normal.
Yeah.
By any means. But, I'm glad that we can keep doing it and we didn't have to shut down for a couple months. That's okay. Everybody stay inside, stay safe. By the time you hear this, it's long past, I would hope. So
this will probably be our time capsule of some sort.
Yeah.
For the archaeologists or the aliens to find and go, wow.
The ancient history professors at Starfleet.
Yep.
Cool. Well, until then, I guess live long.
Avoid voids at all
Don't
costs.
go in any holes.
Do not. And
no matter how lonely you get, trapped in isolation, stay away from the holes.
Unless you want to find out what death is like, people need to know those things.
But you have to experience it every different way.
All 500 ways. They're exactly 500.
That's another good alternate episode.
The 500 ways to die.
The 500 ways he wanted to see people die.
What's the Seth MacFarlane movie? Like
A Million Days to Die in the West?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it 1 million or 10 million?
I think it's 1 million.
Yeah.
Still, you get the point.
Yeah.
Okay, we went way past our live long and prosper this time, so
Indeed.
I'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?
I mean, if you're telling me the internet does bad things, but I get my porn on the internet, I'm not going to shut down the internet. So I don't think Riker would allow the holodeck to get shut down.
That is, I think, probably the best argument I've ever heard. For I don't know why I didn't think of that before. For why they wouldn't just put the caution tape over it and go, no, we're closed.
That's valid.